While the public was distracted by the ephemeral volatility of the 2024 election cycles and the curated noise of celebrity litigation, inside the walls of the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, a specific data point was logged that alters the math for every dollar in existence. It wasn't a headline, it was a revision. On October 14th, the Bureau of Labor Statistics quietly adjusted the professional and business services employment data for the previous 3 quarters. The adjustment revealed a phantom loss of 412,000 high-salary positions, jobs that the mainstream media claimed were still being filled. This was the first signal of the silent pivot. B-roll cue, macro shot of a glass-walled boardroom in Manhattan. The chairs are empty. Dust motes dance in a single beam of light. Text overlay in a clean, monospaced font. October 14th, the phantom revision. To understand the gravity of this moment, you must ignore the unemployment rate you see on the evening news. That 4.1% or 3.9% figure is a lagging indicator, a relic of an industrial economy that no longer exists. The real data is found in the labor share of gross domestic income, which has entered a terminal divergence from corporate productivity. On September 12th, during an unlisted investor call for a Tier 1 Silicon Valley conglomerate, the chief financial officer uttered a sentence that should have frozen the blood of every middle manager in America. He didn't talk about growth. He talked about zero marginal labor architecture. He confirmed that for every $100 million in new revenue projected for 2026, the firm intended to add 0, not 10, not 5, but 0 new human headcount. We are witnessing the onset of the 2026 jobless recovery. In previous cycles, 1991, 2001, 2008, the recovery of corporate profits eventually pulled employment upward. The math of the economy dictated that to make more, you had to hire more. That law of physics has been repealed. We are now entering a structural extinction event for the American middle class. The $150,000 a year salary, once the bedrock of the suburban dream, has been reclassified from an asset to a legacy liability. The math is cold, the transition is absolute, and by the time the general public realizes the recovery doesn't include them, the exit doors will have already been locked from the outside.
The visible story.
The visible story, the one designed to maintain social cohesion and prevent a premature run on the banks, is a masterpiece of corporate gaslighting. The narrative pushed by the World Economic Forum and echoed by mainstream financial outlets is that we are entering a golden age of productivity. According to the official line, artificial intelligence is not a replacement for the human worker, but a co-pilot. You've heard the terminology human in the loop, augmented intelligence, the democratization of creativity. These phrases are not descriptive, they are sedative. They are designed to convince the $150,000 a year project manager, the $200,000 a year corporate attorney, and the $120,000 a year data analyst that their value is merely being enhanced. In the sanitized version of reality, the recent mass layoffs at Amazon, Meta, and Alphabet are portrayed as post-pandemic right-sizing. The media tells you that the market is simply cooling after a period of irrational exuberance. They point to the help wanted signs at local restaurants and construction sites as proof that the labor market is resilient. But look closer at the headlines. Bloomberg, June 2025, corporate America learns to do more with less. The New York Times, August 2025, the rise of the fractional executive. Why full-time roles are vanishing. The mainstream narrative suggests that as old jobs disappear, new, higher-value jobs will emerge. They cite the 19th century transition from agriculture to manufacturing as a historical parallel. They claim that just as the tractor freed the farmer to work in the factory, the AI agent will free the accountant to become a strategic value architect. This is a fundamental category error. The official story ignores the velocity of obsolescence. In the 1800s, it took 60 years for the mechanical loom to displace the hand weaver. This provided 3 generations of time for the labor market to adjust. In the current cycle, the transition from generative chat to agentic execution has occurred in less than 18 months. The mainstream media continues to report on job openings, JOLTS data, without acknowledging that a significant percentage of these postings are now ghost jobs, advertisements kept open by HR algorithms to harvest data or satisfy internal requirements with no intent to hire. In reality, the white-collar hiring rate in the private sector has quietly hit its lowest point since the April 2020 lockdowns. While the visible story promises a soft landing and a more creative future, the internal metrics of the S&P 500 tell a different story. They tell a story of a surgical removal of the human element from the corporate balance sheet. The Copilot was never meant to help you fly the plane. It was meant to learn the route so it could eventually fly the plane alone while you were quietly escorted to the back of the aircraft.
The hidden mechanism.
To understand why 2026 is the year of the Great Deletion, we must move past the superficial understanding of AI as a chatbot. What we saw in 2023 and 2024 was Generative AI, a sophisticated autocomplete system. It could write an email, summarize a PDF, or generate a line of code. It required a human to prompt it, verify it, and move the output to the next stage of the workflow. And this was the Copilot phase. It was manageable. It was non-threatening. In 2025, we entered the agentic phase. This is the hidden mechanism. Agentic AI, LLM 2.0 and beyond, does not wait for a prompt. It is capable of recursive task execution. If you tell an agentic system to increase the conversion rate of the Q3 marketing campaign, it does not just write a caption. It accesses the company's internal Snowflake data warehouse, identifies the highest performing cohorts via SQL, automatically generates 1,000 variations of ad copy, manages the bidding process on Meta and Google Ads API, monitors real-time results, and kills underperforming assets, reallocates the budget without a single human meeting. The hidden hand here is the integration of these agents into the enterprise resource planning, ERP, systems like SAP, Oracle, and Salesforce. Consider the middle management arbitrage. In a standard Fortune 500 company, a vice president manages a team of directors who manage managers who manage associates. The primary function of this hierarchy is the transmission and verification of information. This is the white-collar buffer. Agentic AI destroys this buffer. When a C-suite executive can query a private, fine-tuned Llama 4 or GPT-5 instance to execute the 2026 restructuring plan, the agent doesn't send a memo to HR. It interacts directly with the payroll API, Gusto or Workday, generates the severance packages based on legal compliance data, sends the encrypted emails, and revokes the digital credentials of 500 employees in 4.2 seconds. The cost of this operation is roughly 12 compute credits. The human cost of doing this via traditional management would be $2 million in salaries and 3 months of bureaucratic friction. This is what we call cognitive arbitrage. For the last 40 years, the American economy has been built on the degree premium. The belief was that if you possessed cognitive capital, a degree from a Tier 1 or Tier 2 university, you were immune to the automation that destroyed the Rust Belt. You were safe because your work was creative and unstructured. Agentic AI has proven that unstructured work is actually just a series of high-dimensional patterns. Legal discovery, medical diagnosis, architectural drafting, financial modeling, these are not creative in the eyes of a 100 trillion parameter model. They are probabilistic completion tasks. The hidden mechanism is also fueled by the death of the entry-level role. This is the most dangerous crack in the system. Historically, a law firm would hire 10 junior associates. These associates were low value for the first 2 years, but they were the training data for the future partners of the firm. Today, an AI agent can do the work of 10 junior associates with 99.8% accuracy and zero fatigue. Consequently, the law firm stops hiring junior associates. This creates a demographic hollow-out. By 2026, we will see a workforce where the top 5%, the partners/decision makers, are still employed, but the bottom 80% of the white-collar ladder has been evaporated. There is no ladder anymore. There's only a platform and a void. The mega institutions, BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, are the silent architects of this transition. They are demanding efficiency ratios that are mathematically impossible to achieve with human labor. When BlackRock's Aladdin system analyzes a portfolio company, it isn't looking at product quality. It is looking at revenue per employee. In 2022, a healthy tech company had a revenue per employee of $500,000. In 2026, the target is $5 million. You cannot achieve a 10 times increase in revenue per employee by upskilling your staff. You can only achieve it by deleting them. This is the structural removal of the salary fund, the money that once went into the pockets of the middle class, the money that paid for mortgages, 529 college plans, and 401s is being redirected into compute capex and share buybacks. This is not a recession. A recession is a temporary dip in the business cycle. This is a re-architecture. We are moving from a labor-based economy to a capital-based autonomy. In the former, the masses earn a living by selling their time. In the latter, the owners of the compute earn a living by owning the time replacement. The technical physics of this are undeniable. The latency of a human decision is measured in seconds. The latency of an agentic decision is measured in milliseconds. In a globalized high-frequency economy, human slowness is now a systemic risk. To be human in the loop is to be a bottleneck, and the system is designed to route around bottlenecks.
The system fights back.
As the structural removal of the middle class accelerates, the system, the central banks, the regulators, and the policy architects has begun to realize the catastrophic implications for social stability. If 20% of the white-collar workforce becomes human surplus by Q4 2026, the traditional mechanisms of economic control will fail. You cannot have a consumer economy if the consumers have no income. The system is currently attempting to secretly patch the cracks before the dam breaks. But their solutions are creating an even greater systemic fragility. The first patch is the UBI pilot expansion. Behind the scenes, under the guise of social resilience grants, the government is testing universal basic income models in over 40 U.S. cities. These aren't just for the poor, they are being designed for the newly redundant. The goal is to provide a liquidity floor to prevent a total collapse in the housing market. They know that if the $150,000 a year professional defaults on their $4,000 a month mortgage, the regional banking system implodes. Compare this to 1933. During the Great Depression, the system fought back by creating jobs. The CCC, the WPA, the New Deal was about put people to work. In 2026, the New Deal is about keep people quiet. The system has accepted that it cannot create enough jobs to replace what agentic AI is deleting. Therefore, the strategy has shifted from job creation to dopamine management. The second patch is the regulatory moat. We are seeing a sudden surge in AI safety legislation. Do not be fooled. This legislation isn't about protecting you from a Terminator scenario. It is about capture. By imposing massive compliance costs and licensing requirements on AI development, the mega caps, Microsoft, Google, Meta, are ensuring that no small lean startup can disrupt their monopoly. They are patching the risk of open source autonomy. They want to make sure that if you use AI to run your business, you have to pay a tax to them in the form of subscription fees. Historically, every time the system has reached a breaking point, it has moved the goalposts. In 1971, Nixon severed the link to gold because the system could no longer maintain the math of the Bretton Woods Agreement. In 2008, Bernanke launched quantitative easing because the system could no longer maintain the math of the mortgage-backed security market. In 2026, the system will attempt the accounting pivot. We are already seeing the early signs of a shift in how productivity is measured. The Fed is exploring alternative employment metrics that include gig work, fractional tasks, and volunteer economic contributions. By changing the definition of employment, they can maintain the 4% unemployment headline, even while the full-time salary becomes a rare relic. But there's a fatal flaw in this patch. In 1971 and 2008, the system was dealing with financial assets. You can print money to save a bank, but you cannot print meaning. The white-collar extinction isn't just an economic crisis, it's a crisis of identity. The American middle class has spent 40 years being told that their worth is tied to their cognitive output. When that output is worth 0.0001 in compute time, the social contract dissolves. The system's secret solution to turn the former middle class into a rentier dependency class is creating a pressure cooker. They are attempting to manage the surplus population through digital distraction and subsidized subsistence, but this creates a dead-end economy. When you remove the incentive to excel, you remove the engine of growth. The exit strategy this time is different because there is no next big thing. After agriculture, we had industry. After industry, we had services. After services, we had the information economy. After the information economy, there is only the agentic economy, and the agentic economy doesn't need you. The system is fighting back by trying to slow down the transition, but the corporate efficiency mandate from the shareholders is moving faster than the social stability mandate from the regulators. The secret patch is peeling off, and underneath, the structural reality of 2026 is visible to anyone who knows where to look.
The breaking point and positioning.
The breaking point has a date. In our analysis, we project the Great Inversion to occur in Q3 2026. This is the moment when the unemployment rate among college graduates, Tier 1 to 2, will, for the first time in recorded history, exceed the unemployment rate among blue-collar workers, skilled trades. While the digital class is being deleted, the physical class, the plumbers, the electricians, the HVAC technicians, will remain resilient because their work cannot yet be agentized at scale. The cost of a robot to fix a leaking pipe in a cramped crawl space is still $500,000. The cost of an AI to write a 50-page legal brief is 5 cents. The breaking point will manifest as a white-collar credit crunch. When the top 20% of earners realize their jobs are no longer permanent, their spending will collapse. The luxury belief economy, high-end gyms, organic food delivery, $8 lattes, and boutique travel will vanish overnight. This will trigger a secondary wave of layoffs in the service sector. Smart money, the quiet capital, is already positioning itself for this reality. They are moving away from cognitive-heavy sectors and into strategic tangibles. To survive the 2026 jobless recovery, you must adopt the same risk intelligence as the mega funds. Position 1, the physical-digital bridge, the last mile of reality. The only safe professional roles in 2026 will be those that require high-stakes physical accountability. An AI can design a building, but it cannot stand in the mud and ensure the foundation is poured correctly. It can diagnose a disease, but it cannot perform the surgery. The value is shifting from the strategy to the execution. If your job exists entirely on a screen, you are redundant. If your job requires you to move atoms in the physical world, you are essential. Position 2, compute credits and infrastructure ownership. If compute is the new labor, then you must own the labor. Smart money is shifting out of SaaS, software as a service, companies, which are about to be destroyed by agentic DIY, and into hardware and energy infrastructure. The owners of the 2026 economy will be those who own the data centers, the specialized inference chips, and the power grids that fuel them. We are seeing a massive flight to power. Ownership of a modular nuclear reactor or a natural gas pipeline is now a better hedge against AI than a Harvard MBA. Position 3, niche, human-centric trust networks. As the world becomes flooded with synthetic content and agentic interactions, the premium on provenance will skyrocket. The value of a brand will shift from what it says to who it is. Small, elite, decentralized networks of humans who provide verified human insight will become the new boutique consultancies. This is offline autonomy. The more you can provide value outside of the agentic ecosystem, the more you can charge for it. The timeline of failure is as follows. Q1 2026, the end of the degree. Tier 1 companies officially remove degree requirements to lower salary expectations as they replace managers with agent orchestrators. Q2 2026, the commercial real estate capitulation. High-end office towers in Manhattan and San Francisco reach 60% vacancy as firms realize they don't need collaborative spaces for AI agents. Q3 2026, the Great Inversion. White-collar unemployment spikes. The human surplus becomes the primary political talking point. The smart money isn't waiting for the headlines. They are shorting the middle and longing the ends. They are betting on the techno-elite who own the agents and the essential physicals who maintain the world. Everything in the middle, the $150,000 a year cognitive class, is being squeezed into the void.
Final verdict.
The reality we have analyzed today is not a prediction, it is a mathematical extrapolation of current corporate behavior and technological capability. The white-collar extinction is the logical conclusion of a system that prioritizes efficiency over social cohesion. We must accept 4 structural truths. Labor is no longer the factor of production. In the 2026 economy, compute and energy are the only inputs that matter for growth. Human labor has become a discretionary expense. The middle is a liability. The $100,000 to $250,000 salary range is the death zone. It is too expensive to maintain and too easy to automate. The jobless recovery is the new baseline. Corporate profits will continue to hit record highs even as the standard of living for the former middle class enters a terminal decline. Autonomy is the only hedge. If you do not own the tools of production or have a skill that requires physical accountability, you are a passenger in a vehicle you do not control. The Great Reset isn't something that's going to happen. It is something that is happening right now in the background of your daily life, one agentic patch at a time. The world of 2026 will not look like a sci-fi movie. It will look like a very quiet, very efficient, and very empty office building. The system has found its final patch. It has decided that the most efficient economy is the one that doesn't need people to run it. Prepare accordingly.